Hello, boys and girls. This is your old friend, the Dreamfinder, here to set off on another grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom.
The Disneyland Limited, now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hello, passengers, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. With me today, joining the ride, is the wonderful, the fabulous, the beautiful Mindy. Hi, Mindy. How you doing?
I am unbelievable, George. I have had a fantastic week, and I'm so excited to be on this show.
Awesome. Do you have a waltz up?
Do I have a waltz up? Well, sort of. I just got excited because we're now into March, and you know what's coming on in March, right? What movie's coming out, you guys? Dumbo. Who else is excited about that? So we were just talking about that tonight at dinner, saying how excited we were for all the upcoming movies to come out, and I cannot wait to see Dumbo.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a movie that I'm looking forward to as well. I want to see what they have done to kind of because Dumbo is a short movie, like altogether the animated version. So I want to see how Tim Burton kind of stretched the story along. So I am definitely excited about that. And also along for the ride is our jungle skipper, Jay. Hey, Jay.
Aloha, George. What, I'm not fabulous and beautiful also?
I could go back and I can add that in. So.
No, it's good to know how you feel, buddy.
Do you have a waltz up?
I do have a waltz up. Really quick, though, first I want to say, passengers, we've been hanging out in the hotel bar of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. Me, George, Mindy, and George's wife, Jessica. We're having a great time tonight.
We're talking all kinds of fun stuff, aren't we, guys?
Yes, always. So if we sound a little rambunctious and a little bit off topic at points, it's because we've been sitting in this tower for over 4 hours.
4 hours, just chatting.
Because we're friends and we love each other. So we're excited.
So I do have a waltz up, and I've been sitting on this waltz up since my trip to Walt Disney World in September. Because we're doing Disneyland versus Walt Disney World tonight, I noticed an Imagineering mistake on the Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World.
Oh, do tell.
So you know how they built all the props for both attractions at the same time and shipped half to Florida?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you're on the Haunted Mansion at the Magic Kingdom and your Doom Buggy exits the attic and goes backward and you go down the trees, and to your right you see the facade of the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
It's the wrong one.
It's the wrong one.
It is the same facade as the one at Disneyland, the shingled building with the shingled roof. It's not a brick building. To match the brick facade of Florida.
It's the total opposite match of what the exterior looks like.
Right. It's the same one as the one in California.
Oops.
Interesting.
No one thought to change that part of the blueprints.
So how did you figure that out?
Oh, I'm just such a OCD nerd when it comes to this Disney stuff. As soon as we backed out of the attic, I went, that's the wrong building. That's supposed to be a brick building.
Oh, so you were on it when it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe our passengers agree, because when I go to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, at some point, because we're such Disney-loving nerds, and we go on the attraction so many times, how many of us can raise our hand that we stop actually watching the attraction and start looking at the floor and like trying to see behind the scenes, like looking at the lights and like all the workings of the attractions? Like you really start looking other things than just what's right there for them to make you see. And like I write Small World. I don't even look at the dolls anymore. I'm like looking at the floor like, oh, that's where they put that in there. Oh, there's the lights. Oh, there's the, you know, I see all these things as what a cast member might see behind stage. So that's kind of, and so I would do that too. You'd notice those funky little things like going out the back of a haunted mansion and seeing that it's not the right facade.
I think I've gone full circle because I do the same thing, but now I do it in terms of, okay, so they do that to tell this show and this story.
Yeah. And and the thing is, you find so many cool things and you really learn the workings of the attraction that way versus just, you know, what you're really supposed to be seeing, the ins and outs of it.
And especially for me is I love looking for hidden Mickeys.
Yeah.
So even ones that haven't been noticed by any other person on the ride, it's like I like to look for the little details of saying maybe there's one that no one's ever seen before.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a hidden Mickeys type of person when I'm on attractions.
Me too.
So passengers, as Jay had mentioned, this adventure that we are doing is what I like to call David versus Goliath, or also known as Disneyland versus Walt Disney World. And what this adventure is really all about is us just having a healthy debate on which resort for us, not necessarily for any of you guys. You know, you guys can have, you know, difference of opinion and everything, and we're not saying to not experience both. And I think that's a key factor too, is both resorts share some qualities, but they are completely different. They have totally different feels to them. So we still strongly say, if you have the opportunity to visit Disneyland, do it. You have the opportunity to visit Walt Disney World, do it. But this is just more so, in our personal opinion, which resort is the top dog, so to speak. So we'll go through different categories that both resorts share, and then I'll tally the points up, and then at the end, we'll see which one is the reigning champ. That sound good to you guys?
Sounds like a blast.
Let's do this thing.
All right. So I will start with something that is part of both resorts that all of us had experienced, especially one special lady here who is the queen of the churros, that I have to say, which churro is better, Disneyland's or Walt Disney World's?
Oh, I love that question, George, because as our passengers know, I am a churro eating fool. Okay. So I have an addiction to churros and they have to be Disney. So let me just say this. I went to Walt Disney World and I thought their churros were going to be the same. They are not. So this one goes to Disneyland. And now let me tell you this. Disneyland, especially right now, is offering a new flavor like once a week. Every time I turn around, there's a new flavor. I want to try. I've got to get back there and try this maple bacon churro. Because, oh my goodness, it's supposed to taste like pancakes, maple syrup, and bacon. Can a churro get any better? And now they have a banana pudding churro. And Walt Disney World, they have not as many churro carts because they're just not that popular there. They're not like they are at Disneyland where everybody loves churros. And they're such a popular thing. At Walt Disney World, especially at the Magic Kingdom, I think I saw one churro cart. And unfortunately, Disneyland takes the cake with that one. Anybody agree?
Yes,
agree?
That's what I agree. I was definitely, the second I thought of churros, I thought of Disneyland. And a lot of people may think a churro is a churro, and especially that was my main argument, that the Disneyland Resort has so many different options and they're so unique. You know, you wouldn't think of, oh, let's blend this together with a churro, but it works. What do you have to say?
I'm going to back Mindy up because the churro at Disneyland is this warm, yummy, delicious thing. The churro at Disney World has been sitting in that cart for a long time, and it's hard, and it's stale, and it's whatever the outside temperature is. The churros at Disneyland are for the locals, and the churros at Disney World are for the tourists who don't know better.
Yes.
So I think it's a combined consensus that Disneyland won this one.
Oh, for sure. Takes the cake.
Or the churro.
The churro.
Or the churro.
Takes the churro. Now, there was another type of sweet treat that Disney is known for. And Jay, I think you had that one. It's an ice cream.
Oh. Okay, so I am the delicious Dole Whip. I've had both the Dole Whip and the, we forget name of other one, Pineapple Swirl. And not only are they better at Disneyland because you're getting it at Disneyland, you can now add bacon for an extra $1. So Disneyland is clearly the winner with bacon.
Have you actually had it with the bacon?
Not yet, but I can't wait to. And I'm gonna give the guy $3 for 3 times as much bacon on my churro, on my my Dole Whip.
What do you think, Mindy?
I love the Dole Whip. I love it, love it, love it. But I think I'm going to side with Jason on that one.
Going for the Disneyland?
Yeah.
And Tropical Hideaway, is the ultimate selling point for having a Dole Whip.
For real. So here's the thing. Like, people who go to Disneyland, and we're going to give you a tip if you haven't ever been to Disneyland. So at the Tropical Hideaway, it's right literally outside the door of the Tiki Room, which makes it so much funner because when you eat your Dole Whip, you can take it in and they let you, and you get to listen to the Tiki Birds and eat a Dole Whip. So, but the little hidden thing, most people line up outside and go into Adventureland, and the line can go all the way down past the restrooms and go, towards Indiana Jones. The line can get pretty long. But if you don't know, you can actually go into the queue area where you're waiting to go into the attraction. And the line, there's 2 lines on both sides of the Tropical Hideaway. So if you go on that side, there's hardly ever a wait. And you just walk up, grab your Dole Whip, and you're done. And you just kind of laugh at the people standing in line and get your Dole Whip.
Don't tell everybody.
Don't tell anyone. Listeners, passengers. I just gave you a tip when you come to Disneyland.
But it's just between us.
Just between us. Mum's the word.
No one else.
Like you.
All right, so Disneyland also won that for that sweet treat. So now I have to ask you guys, after having a sweet treat, it's always nice to go on a little bit more of a calming, relaxing type of ride. One of my favorite classic Disney attractions is Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, we all know that there is a difference between both pirates. Which one do you guys prefer? I already know mine, but
thanks for asking us to cast shade, George.
Yeah.
You want to take this?
But there's a kind of
I'll take this one. I'll take this one. Let's just be honest.
I don't want to get flamed, so you can take it.
If you took the queue and facade from the one in Florida and attached it to the attraction in California, you'd have the perfect pirates.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it. It's Walt Disney World has the best queuing, the queue area for pirates, but the ride itself has to go to Disneyland.
And the ride in Florida looks and sounds great. It's not the fault with what's in the attraction. The fault lies with what isn't in the attraction.
It's shorter. Let's get real. It's shorter, and it's noticeably shorter. And when you go to Disneyland, you go through the bayou first, and off to your right is the Blue Bayou restaurant, which it sets off this mood, this ambiance. And you're going through and you see all the little fireflies and the banjo playing. And it sets the mood before you get to the Davy Jones thing and you drop down that first fall. So, and you go through the attraction and you're going through and you're going through. At the end, the ending of both attractions are so different. but it's noticeably shorter at Walt Disney World. And then when you're going up the waterfall at Disneyland, you go out and you're almost on display as you go around, and you see the people waiting in line in the queue line. You can wave to them and you can high five them. I've seen friends and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And they kind of funny. You see people going by, but so that little bit extra that you are sitting in that boat and it's sitting in the attraction. It's almost, I don't want to say it's a 14-minute full ride ish at Disneyland. It's a lengthy attraction, and it's noticeably different. You cut those few minutes off. So it's going to Disneyland again.
And it also cuts the storyline out, because the scenes that are in Disneyland play a pivotal part of the storyline that it's supposed to take you in. So it's almost like the one in Florida, I'm not knocking it, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's almost like as if you're watching a movie and then fast forwarding through certain parts and then pressing play.
Yeah,
so
because everything that's missing from Disney World sets up the story, because when you go through the bayou, down the waterfall, through the caves, you're going backwards in time to the point where the pirates are alive. Disney World, beach, drop, flash camera, there we go.
Yeah. It's noticeably shorter, and for the majority that I have heard, when people compare Walt Disney to Disney World to Disneyland, Disneyland takes the cake for pirates. It just does. So, again, it's going to win at Disneyland.
Well, and the cherry on top of that, of being at Disneyland, is you exit the ride into New Orleans.
Yes. I mean, just even having that ride in that land itself, it sets the stage even before you enter into the queue.
Yeah, because for passengers who don't know, they slapped together Pirates in Florida in literally 13 months because of the complaints that it wasn't there.
Oh.
So yeah. I wonder if it would actually have been a little better.
It wasn't supposed to be there at all. It was supposed to be the...
Right. I mean, I wonder, if they would have taken the demand of the popularity, but had taken their time to build it rather than hurrying up and placing it.
I throw some further shade upon the Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm sure I'll get an angry email out of this one.
But don't at Jason.
Jason at McDuckIndustries.com. I was thinking if you kept the top, because the ride's on 2 different levels in Florida. The facade and the loading area is on the second floor where the park is, but the actual attraction is on the lower floor, the actual ground level. And the one in Shanghai is so great. What if they got rid of the building on the ground floor, kept the one on top floor, and you went through the fort, through the caves. Ride starts out the same. You go down the hill, and now you're at the one in Shanghai. What if they brought that over?
Epic.
Then my point would be moving over to Walt Disney World.
That line would be forever long. And it is such a favorite attraction. Disney World has its points. I mean, the queue line is so much better. You're inside. It's air conditioned. At Disneyland, it can get hot. I was at Disneyland when it was 113 degrees that day in July. It can get hot. And you're outside. I mean, you wait outside in the queue line until you go through the doors and you're, on display again in front of the people. But you're not inside for very long. So you're outside. If it's raining, you're going to get wet.
That is where the Florida one is better, the whole Caribbean Plaza sells it. Having Pirates in its own mini land.
Yeah.
And you go to the old fort to get to the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it has its pros and cons for different.
Agreed.
So I'm going to take this one step further of not just talking about one specific attraction like we did with Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going to say as a whole, which resort has the better quality and quantity of rides? Now you have to think wisely, because even though there's 4 parks to Walt Disney World, Disneyland has 2. But if you kind of pick...
passengers, if you could see the eye roll and the head shake.
And I am. My eye rolls and my head shake, and because I can feel myself getting thrown under the bus. Because I am going to be honest here. It's going to go to Disneyland. I love Disneyland, but I love Walt Disney World. I love Magic Kingdom, and people are diehards to both. You have a home park, I get it. But when we went first to Disney World, I went to Magic Kingdom, and we walked in, and yes, the castle is magnificent. And you look at Disneyland, and it's itty-bitty tiny. It's just this itty-bitty thing. Like, I can't even tell you the difference. You'd have to see it. But I remember, and this was 2002, the first time I ever went to Walt Disney World. We walked into Magic Kingdom, and I remember thinking to myself, and I didn't know a whole lot about it back then, like, there's so much cement everywhere. Like, everywhere is cement. And I felt like I had to walk to so many more attractions, and it's bigger. It's so spread out. And now Disneyland, you basically take all 4 parks at Walt Disney World and you cram them into 2 parks. So you're getting so much more done in a smaller amount of time. At Walt Disney World, it is leisure-like time. There's a lot more shows to see. There's a lot more things. But to see all the attractions that are in one park at Disneyland, you have to go to all 4 parks at Walt Disney World just to experience what you can experience at Disneyland. And at Disneyland, the characters walk around by themselves. They don't have handlers. You don't have to line up. You'll find Captain Hook or Mary Poppins getting on right next to you on the carousel. Peter Pan and Wendy will go on an attraction with you. They'll be out playing they'll go on, and I've seen them do it both parks, but they hang out a lot around the Allison, the Tea Party, and the teacups. But all these characters just roam freely, and there's so much more green grass everywhere. Now, I get it. Magic Kingdom can't, because it's on that second level, like Jason was saying. They can't plant the trees. They'd be planting them into a basement, and they can't do that. There's not enough room for roots. So there's not as much green vegetation. Disneyland is it's more intimate, it's smaller, it's green, and it's lush, and it's beautiful. It's like you're walking into a magical garden. So if you're going to compare Magic Kingdom to Disneyland, I'm going to pick Disneyland.
Well, Jay, do you have anything to go off of that?
Actually, I do, and I am going to go with Magic Kingdom on this one, even though it doesn't have as many rides. As far as a storytelling experience, and maybe it's because Magic Kingdom is so new to me. I've been going to Disneyland my whole life, and now I'm going to Disney World. But you definitely see what happens when they get to do it a second time. And I love Disneyland. It's my home park, but it is crowded. Everything is built on top of each other. You can see Splash Mountain literally right next door to the Haunted Mansion. There is no space. And with Magic Kingdom, I think the overall architecture and the space works to tell the story. I think in a lot of ways it sells it better.
I'm going to agree with you 100%. 100%. I just think Disneyland is prettier and charming, and it's greener. It's not as hot because there's not as much concrete, but there's way more space, and I will give it that.
And maybe that's part of it too, because after decades and decades of, the Disneyland mosh pit,
Yeah.
It's nice to go to a park where you can twirl around like Mary Tyler Moore and throw your hat up.
Because there's space. There's so much more space.
Definitely. I would have to.
You're the tiebreaker here.
I am. Because I enjoy both parks of being both having experience, but I would have to still go. I don't know what it is with me. And as I said, I love Disneyland Park. I really, really do, especially since it was the very first park that started it all. Walt actually had his footprints, ingrained into that park. But I would have to actually go with Walt Disney World. I don't know if it's more so because I spent a lot of time there, and I guess that's where my home port, so to speak, is. But I do enjoy how there's a lot of breathing room where everything is a little bit spaced out. That even though it does have a lot of walking distance, but they have like their individual sections where, like with the new Fantasyland that's adjacent to the old Fantasyland, you have that extra walking space to walk through Belle's Village and go to the Little Mermaid attraction and Beast Castle and what have you. So yeah, I'd have to go with Walt Disney World on that one.
And I have to say real quick, because Disneyland is Walt's park. He walked there. He had a hand in it. The thing about Magic Kingdom was it definitely felt like it was Walt Disney's World.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a hard question because I truly do go back and forth. And if you only pick one, I mean, I see the points to both sides. I really do. I think Magic Kingdom, and I'm not trying to knock it, I think it's stellar. I love Magic Kingdom. I love their Fantasyland. It is incredible. It's just the queue line to go on the Little Mermaid attraction. Oh my gosh. Like Disneyland's is, well, it's at California Adventure, but it's so blah. And they do have the space to make the attractions so much more grand and those things. But there's a certain,
well, what you were saying about
feeling.
You can do all the Disney World rides at Disneyland in one day. And that's one of the things I liked about Magic Kingdom was, yes, it does need some more rides, some more e-tickets and some more C-tickets to eat people. But kind of not having everything so crammed together, having everything spread out and fewer kind of just worked for me.
You really do take Walt Disney World at a leisure pace. I feel like at Walt Disney World, you see a lot of shows. There's not as many there, like, I guess overall there is, but if you're going to each park each day, you're not going from attraction to attraction to attraction to attraction like you are at Disneyland, because they're so close together. And and let me tell you, you walk twice as far at Walt Disney World. You just do. At Disneyland, you're walking 6-7 miles a day. At Walt Disney World, 15 miles a day. And just to see the same thing. And I guess that's my breaking point. I am an attraction goer. I love riding attractions. I just like being able to go to each one quickly. But Magic Kingdom holds a lot more people. And when you're at Disneyland, you really do feel cramped.
Mindy, speaking of the train, I guess that's the best way I could describe the difference is Disneyland, the train is a ride to go around the park. At Walt Disney World, I literally had to take the train because I could not walk anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I had run out of juice and I needed to get sugar and caffeine in me and I couldn't walk and I took the train.
Because at Walt Disney World, their transportation is made for transportation. You stand up in the monorail. At Disneyland, their transportation is an attraction. So it's totally a different feel. It's really hard, and I'm rolling my eyes and shaking my head because how do you decide? How do you pick? But you have to pick one. So.
And that is why I picked this topic for tonight's show, because I just had to think of something that would literally drive you too crazy.
You're doing a good job. Don't at me, people. Don't at me.
We are Stan, Dan, and Carolyn if you are mad at us.
Yeah. So kind of on the subject when it was brought up, because that was actually my next question, which resort best fits for relaxation? Now, each person has a different representation of relaxation. It could just be sitting on a bench, watching people. It could be going for a dip in the pool or what have you. But overall, which resort is best for relaxation?
Oh, my goodness. You're putting me on the spot. So you're talking about parks, though, right? Like which Disney park?
No. Just overall of the resort itself.
Oh, like the hotel resorts.
Like it could be hotel. It could be...
You mean the complete resort package?
Like everything
inside.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go. I've been to all 3 levels at Walt Disney World. Disney World's going to take this one for sure, just because Disneyland's hotels are not up to par with Walt Disney World, because there's definitely not very many. They have them outnumbered at Disney World. But I'm going to go with the Riverside Resort. I'm going to go with Port Orleans Riverside Resort, and let me tell you why. Because it's quiet. The overall feel of that resort is so, you come back from the parks and you're just relaxed once you walk onto the resort. It's so quiet. You can hear the water. You can hear, the pool is off by itself, but there's water that's dripping in fountains everywhere. And the music that they pump through. It is just the most serene feeling to walk around that resort at night. You can just go outside of your room and go out into a gazebo and just sit there and just put your feet up and just enjoy yourself. It's the most romantic feeling. You can even take a carriage ride. It's unbelievable. So that is probably... And I've stayed at a lot of resorts at Walt Disney World, but that by far I love that resort. It's amazing. So that's my answer.
I'm with Mindy on this one. It's Walt Disney World all the way. For the Polynesian alone, every single thing I want in a Disney vacation is in the Polynesian.
Kate, you're so right, because I was almost going to say that.
I mean, for me, there's nothing like sitting on the white sand of the Polynesian and watching the sunset over Cinderella's castle across
or the
fireworks.
The fireworks. You're so right. I think both. George, this is the hardest freaking topic you did for us. Good gosh.
I wasn't going to make this easy.
Is this why you took us to the Hollywood Tower Hotel bar?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I had to get
kind of loosen us up for this episode.
So, let me tell you, that's hard. I'm going to stick to my guns, though. I'll say Port Orleans Resort, just because I've stayed there more. That's the only reason why I'd say that. But second on my list would be the Poly.
Poly for me is the happiest place on earth, and I want to go and never come back.
You know why also? Because they have Tonga toast. And Disneyland does not have Tonga toast. Yes. I will take Tonga toast any day. That's up there with churros. Disneyland has churros, but Disney World has Tonga toast. And Tonga toast, oh my goodness.
I could never eat at Napa Rose again, and that's fine with me if I could have Ohana's every day.
Yes. We're going to Ohana's. Jason, book us a trip to Ohana's.
Done.
Okay.
And just like that, passengers, see, already a reservation already set.
Let me call Shirley in GCT accounting real quick.
We always have to check our budget plan before we make...
we always got to run it by Shirley before we do something.
Yeah. I would definitely have to agree with you both. Definitely Walt Disney World for leisure and relaxation. For me, as far as resort goes, we only stayed there once, but the catering and the amenities that came with it, I mean, mind you, it's pretty pricey, but the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, we absolutely love staying in. Being able to watch the fireworks from the pool late at night, they bring up the show music and everything. So it's literally, you feel like you're right there in the park watching the fireworks, but then you don't have to worry about the crowds. You don't have to worry about the transportation. Jay?
I want to ask you a real quick question about this, because I'm a poly person at heart and always will be. Mm-hmm. The Grand Floridian looks kind of, stuffy to me. What about it for you?
As stuffy as being a little bit more on the Victorian side?
Yeah.
Okay. You're actually not the first person that asked me that question when I brought up the Grand Floridian, because a lot of times there are common misconceptions that it's a little bit too high end, but I mean, as far as
Well, because it's not even the high-end thing. It's just, it looks a little starch shirt for my taste.
I mean, it does have a higher-end Victorian-style look to it, but I mean, everyone that goes in and out, I mean, you could be wearing a T-shirt and jeans, you know, and no one actually looks at you twice at, you know, because we walked in there back and forth, and it literally felt like home. Like, it didn't separate itself from any other Disney resort we ever stayed at. And it was... Well, and we also had, again, 2 reservations for Victoria and Albert's, which, again, very pricey. But if you had the opportunity to do Victoria and Albert's, I highly recommend it, especially staying at the Grand Floridian, because it's literally right there. You get dressed, go into the main lobby, go up to the, I believe it's the 2nd floor. Don't quote me, passengers. I think it's the 2nd floor. And the restaurant is right there by Citricos. Mindy?
So you're talking about the Grand Floridian, and just to confirm, you know, I'm going through my head here and confirming my thoughts as to why I chose Port Orleans Riverside. So I'm going to tell you guys and the passengers a little story. My husband had some health problems, and he's had many surgeries. And this particular surgery, he was in the hospital for 2.5 weeks. And it was our anniversary, and I had to come home, and I'm doing dishes, and I look over on the TV, and there's a Disney commercial. And we're watching the Disney Channel. My daughter, she's, 10, or no, I don't know how, she's 12 maybe. And no, she had to have been 10. So we look over, and it says, submit your video to Disney Online on how you create Disney magic at home. And you go on, it says, go there. So we look it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Cecily, we're winning this. We're winning this. She looks at me. She's like, Mom, we're not going to win this. I said, no, you don't understand. We're going to win this. All night long, I'm up thinking of things, and I'm a pretty crafty person, and my husband is a video production specialist. So I run into the hospital the next day. I'm like, wake up. And he's like, what's the matter? I said, we have a video to film, and you get out of the hospital tomorrow. It's due this end of this weekend. He's like, what? So I go home, and I cut out paper. I recreate different attractions and literally put our kids in costumes. If you want to go see the video, we submitted it. It's on YouTube. It's called Cecily, and that's Cecily, Cecily and Caden, Kaden, Rule the Mix. It was done by Disney Online. And we submitted this video. You had 45 seconds, and you had to compact it down, and you could use the music from their online website. There was probably 700 contestants going against us, little kids popping on their videos. But a lot of dads went out of their way and made some good, we got to run for our money. So we made this commercial, and lo and behold, we won an all expenses paid trip to Walt Disney World. I'm talking 10 days, airfare, $1,000 spending, free dining, and we could choose any resort we wanted to stay on property. That's where I come full circle with this. We could have stayed at anything. So you're saying, okay, I love the Grand Floridian. I run into Brandon. I'm like, we got to stay deluxe. We got to stay deluxe. And the more we thought about it, we said, no, we want to stay Port Orleans Riverside in one of the princess rooms. And so we lived it up at Port Orleans, and we could have stayed anywhere. But going back now, I probably would have done a split stay and be like, okay, 5 days there, 5 days somewhere else. But we had talked about going to the Grand Floridian, and Brandon's like, I don't want to feel all frou-frou, and maybe you don't. But that's how I guess I'm siding with Jason and coming around that little story there, that it's almost, you kind of feel stuffy in there. And it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. And I have stayed at some major, magnificent hotels, like top of the line resorts. But I just didn't feel comfortable there. And we had gone there and looked around. So we're just the Port Orleans Riverside kind of gal.
I will say this. I'm probably going to get hate for this. And Dan, part of our Grand Circle Tour podcast, is probably going to kill me for this. But believe it or not, the resort that's most, I'm not going to say stuck up, but uncomfortable, as you put it, Mindy, would actually be more of Saratoga Springs than Grand Floridian.
I can see that. I can definitely
there's
see
going to be
that.
a brawl when you guys see each other.
I can see what you're saying, though. There's a lot of DVC members there, a lot. And sometimes they act like pass holders where they just kind of feel like they're entitled. And trust me, DVC is amazing. But sometimes you run into the people and it's not everybody, but people feel entitled and they're like, oh, well, you're staying at a hotel. Well, I'm staying at my place. Like, it just happens. So,
well, like you said, it's like with the Grand Floridian, it's not even the look. It has a vibe.
It has a vibe. It does. They all have vibes, and they made it that way. That's why they're themed. And they do a really good dang job at theming them and giving them vibes, don't they?
What's funny is how we all have our hotel we go to that our vibe attracts to.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Now, I haven't been to all of the hotels, so that may change in time as I experience each hotel. And I think that's the plus side for Walt Disney World is there's so many to choose from. There's so many looks, different styles, different theming, as you guys were saying, that sometimes it's kind of hard to pick. One resort may have something that another resort doesn't, but, vice versa, it can even out in the end.
Yeah, but the Polynesian resort is magnificent. I'd pick Poly over
as far as theming goes and everything. Yeah, Poly's just Poly. I mean, it's like how can you go
it has its own vibe.
It does. It takes you to frickin' Hawaii. My husband lived in Hawaii for almost 3 years, and we went to the Poly and we had Tonga toast and we walked in there and got to Ohana, and he was like, this is making me homesick. I want to go to Hawaii. Like, they transport you to Hawaii. It is amazing.
I can back you up on that because that's where our timeshare is in Maui. And I go to the Poly and it's like the same thing.
You're just home, huh?
Yeah.
It really does feel like Hawaii. It's crazy.
Just with the killer view of a castle across the lake.
Yeah, just with the killer view of the castle. That's all. And that's the thing. And that's why we are picking Walt Disney World. This was a long, drawn-out thing of which resort. But it transports you wherever you go. If you go over to Wilderness Lodge, you are now in a mountainous range filled with pine trees. You would have no clue you're in Florida. Like, they are made to make you have that vibe, and you have to decide what vibe you want to fill. The Bayou, I love it. I love the Louisiana feel. I love that. I love the pillars and it's very vintage and country feeling all at the same time. I love that era, and maybe that's why I'm drawn to it, because it's so cute to me and my vintage flair.
And just add in the Tonga toast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you said Port Wilderness, and like the vibe I get off that, I want to rent some campers and take the family down and camp at Fort Wilderness.
So true. So true. And there's so many options at Walt Disney World for you to choose what vibe you want to have. And at Disneyland, let's talk Disneyland for a minute. You don't get that at Disneyland. You have to... just to stay at the Disneyland Hotel, do you guys realize that it is closer to stay on Harbor Boulevard for a 4-minute walk to the gate through security than going to the Disneyland Resort Hotel? That is all the way down, and people are like, oh, it's so close to Disneyland. No, it's not. It is not the closest resort. It is really far away, actually. And you have to trek yourself all the way through downtown Disney just to get there. It's way overpriced. It's $560-ish a night on, days. And then you've got Paradise Pier, who wasn't even built. It wasn't ever owned by Disney. They just kind of took it over, and they've tried their best to theme it, but it's nothing special. And then you've got the Grand Californian Hotel. It's very quaint. It's very rustic feeling. It has that lodge feeling, but it is nothing like Wilderness Lodge.
And
Nothing.
I'm sorry, it is not worth the price. They tried to replicate the Wilderness Lodge look,
Yeah.
which is the same as the Animal Kingdom Lodge look, but on a smaller scale. You've got teeny tiny little rooms. I would advise anyone not to valet park their car or park there, period, because they only have 300 parking spaces for 750 rooms plus conventions.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. I wouldn't valet my car there. It's just, I'm sorry, the Disneyland hotels aren't worth the money, and they don't give you the vibe.
No, you do not. And you're not in your room. I mean, you're just not at Disney World. You're taking days off to enjoy the resort. At Disneyland, because Disneyland's so much smaller and you get so much done, you're there for 3 days and you're like, I'm out. Like, that's the max. You know,
the amount of money it takes to stay at a Disneyland resort hotel for the length of time you're at Disneyland itself is equivalent to a full Walt Disney World resort package.
For a week.
Yes.
It's almost cheaper to go to Walt Disney World, you guys. It really is. If you're going to go stay at a Disneyland hotel and get tickets, fly out there, it is. Stay off property. You're going to save yourself hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
That's my advice.
Stay on Harbor Boulevard.
Well, now that I live in the middle of the country, I would rather just go to Disney World, because if I'm going to spend the same amount of money, I want more stuff.
I live 5.5 hours from Disneyland, and I'm to the point, because Disneyland is getting ridiculously expensive, even for our annual passes, that I'm willing just to go get on an airplane and go to Walt Disney World for a week and take my family there now. That's where I'm at. Like, I love Disneyland. You guys all know that. It's my home park, but I'm kind of there. I'm ready to go to Disney World.
All right. Now, with this question, and passengers, brace yourself, because we are going to get a whole lot of messy. So, as everyone knows, as part of the Disney community, we are getting a brand new land, a little land, nothing big, nothing major. It's a small thing called Galaxy's Edge. So
that was a really big insert of an eye roll.
Oh, if you guys could have seen that. I think her eyes tickled the back of her head.
That both Disneyland and Walt Disney World are getting Galaxy's Edge. Walt Disney World's getting it in Hollywood Studios, and Disneyland Park is getting it right where Big Thunder Ranch used to be. Now, this is probably going to be a close to a no-brainer, but I just had to add this in because, hey, it's a podcast, it's entertainment, and plus I just love to listen to Mindy rant, so. Which resort of having Galaxy's Edge in benefits?
Well, it sure as heck ain't Disneyland. Boo! Boo!
When it comes to for crowd control, when it comes for ticket sales, just overall, which resort would hold Galaxy's Edge the best? And
why do you even ask that? We all know.
It does not belong in Disneyland, people.
Maybe he wants us to talk trash, and we should do it.
Let's talk some trash, man. All right, so California Adventure deserves to have Star Wars Land. They could have knocked out another parking lot. They could have knocked down the Tower of Trash, which was what I call the Tower of Terror now. I love Galaxy. I love it, but it looks like trash. I don't like the facade of it. I mean, come on, guys. At Disneyland, you're going to put an already overcrowded park that people can't walk in their sardines in. As Jason said earlier, they're going to build Star Wars Land. Come on. Leave it at Disney World. Oh,
not only are they building Star Wars Land, the effect it's having on Disneyland, taking away walkways, planters, places to sit, places to relax, and making it more of a go, 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 not so much enjoy it like you used to.
It makes my blood boil to think about it. And then it's going to be here in just a few short months. I've got to get to Disneyland 4 more times before this opens in June, because I might stop going for quite some time. Like I said, I'm starting taking my family to Disney World.
I'm going to get hate for this, and I know it. But what makes it less special to me is not only just cramming it into the back of Disneyland where it doesn't belong, you're duplicating it, and the twin is opening up just a few months later.
Yeah.
You know, had they changed it to a different planet, different location, but you've just cookie cutter stamped the identical thing in 2 parks.
Now, Jay, let me ask you, do you feel as how Mindy said it would have benefit better at DCA?
No, I think it should have been its own third park somewhere else.
Toy Story parking lot?
Yeah. I think they could have built something around it that is magnificent, but instead they cut the back of the rivers off and shoehorned it in there. It affects ops hugely.
Disneyland likes to shoehorn anything in there. Can you imagine what it would have been like to build that hotel they were going to shoehorn in there? It's the same thing. It's just like they get these ideas of, it'll fit.
It's not even that. It's like, we don't care. We have this, and we're putting it here whether you like it or not, because it's going to make us money, which is what they're there to do. But
I'm so sad. I'm so sad.
Now, passengers, just know, I already knew what Mindy and Jay's answers and feelings towards this, but I just had to share it just as part of the recording. To share it with all of you.
To Mindy and I, Disneyland is like an old friend we've known our whole lives.
Yeah.
So when it's about to get into a bad relationship, we can be like, hey, girl, no.
We got to stop and talk. We got to back it up. We're going to talk you off the ledge.
But our friend is not going to do it. They're going to go ahead and marry this guy. So now we have to.
We got to put up with that weird, awkward friend for a while.
Now, minus the room of capacity in Disneyland Park, being that Disneyland is such a traditional, the original park of Walt, by putting something of the pop culture that's so relevant in today's time, does that tarnish the feeling of when going into the park as how Walt envisioned it?
My husband would say no.
Yeah, Toontown. Toontown was originally based around Roger Rabbit, and look how well it fits in.
Yeah, they need to mow that down, though. That's a whole other topic.
I think, and here is, I'm just going to be brutally honest, and I don't care who it offends. This is my concern with Galaxy's Edge. They want it to be max capacity, close the gates at 10 a.m., full every day.
Every day. And how fun is that? People are going to complain already. If that's happening and people are saving up money, we're going to go see Galaxy's Edge, and they get there and they find out there's an 8 or 9 hour wait, are you really going to be happy that you brought your family to Disneyland? Are you really going to be happy that when you step foot in that park that you can't walk because you're a sardine every single day, that every single day is now going to be Christmas Day at Disneyland?
Yeah,
that is going to be no fun.
Of dollars to go on one ride all day.
There's only 2 parks at Disneyland. At Walt Disney World, there's so much more, okay? Yeah, Star Wars opened. Let the people go there. I'm going to go over to Animal Kingdom and enjoy myself because there's still room.
I'm going to go to Disney Springs because that's a whole day event.
Yes, it's so much easier to sponge and crowd control, I guess, because there's so much. You can just, like, there might be more people that visit Walt Disney World every year, and there are, but it absorbs a crowd so much better than Disneyland. It was a bad idea. I think they're shooting themselves in their own foot, and it's a bad idea. This
is my biggest concern, and this is me being concerned for my old friend, that this could be the jump the shark moment for Disneyland.
Oh, yeah, it is, absolutely.
When Disneyland becomes synonymous with, oh my God, it's not worth the money anymore. It's not worth the time. You can't do anything. It's overcrowded. It's overpriced. Don't even go.
Yep.
Because how many people in our own lives are telling us, oh, I'm not even going to try to go for the first 2 years.
Oh, for sure. That's where I'm at. I'm like, do I let my annual passes expire? Because I don't know if I'm going to go after June. I'm going to go to D23 and I'm going to go to Disneyland just to like look around. But I'm not going to go to ride attractions. I know what it's going to be like. Can you imagine? D23 in Star Wars Land?
I'm hitting Disney
Galaxy's
World
Edge?
one more time this year before Galaxy's Edge opens because I want to be able to go on Tower of Terror a bunch of more times before I can't.
And I'll be
Because
right
the
there
line.
with you.
Yes, you will.
Well, and now, Jay, actually, speaking of that, I know we're actually recording. I just have to give you a little friendly reminder. I do believe, I don't know how long the refurbishment is going to be for Tower of Terror because they're working on it individually with the
Right.
elevator.
I think it should be done by fall, though.
Right. So, as just a friendly reminder, if it is not, I would definitely say get a fast pass for it, just in case.
Because that was the beauty of going this last September, going on a Saturday. I just kept walking on, getting off, getting on, getting off, getting on. Just
that's
do it.
That's the best, especially for Tower of Terror. If you could just get on, get off, get on, you know.
Because your ride is my favorite one at Disney World, and I want to ride it a whole bunch of times before Star Wars says no.
Yeah.
Well,
Disney World takes the cake of where that land belongs. It sure as heck ain't Disneyland.
Alrighty. And I have one last question to wrap up this adventure, and it's pretty much what wraps up any Disney vacation or any day at the park. Which resort has the best end of the day, into the night fireworks? Or nighttime?
Nighttime spectacular.
Yes.
Jason's like,
I've gone quiet. Best one is Fantasmic at Disneyland. Because the river literally comes to life. And everybody you've seen throughout the day is there to wish you a good night. Sorry.
No, I agree. 100%. That's what I was going to say. Because when you go to Disney World and you're at Hollywood Studios and you watch their Fantasmic, it's like seeing some cheap knockoff. Like, it's so sad.
Yes.
Like, I remember watching it there for the first time, and the boat that comes out at the end, it's supposed to be the Steamboat Willie boat. Like, I totally get it. But it looks like a really cheap cardboard version of the Mark Twain. And I remember looking at it going, really? That's what they came up with?
And that's what the sad thing is about Hollywood Studios is Fantasmic, is they have the room. They have all that whole amphitheater.
To make it amazing.
Dude, like, even update it now. I mean, it's been there since 1997.
But don't even update it because that just means Frozen's going to be all over it.
Oh, yeah.
If they went back and did the original one where you had like the Nautilus versus the giant squid on the little river and make it like about the Disney movies and not just
one franchise
clone, a franchise clone of Disneyland, but celebrate the big Disney movies and use that giant space with giant props, it'd totally be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, their cheap knockoff version does not hold a candle to Disneyland's.
But with Disneyland, like a literal piece of the land comes to life.
However, I will give it to Disney World for their space. Like George was saying, the seating at Walt Disney World is so much better for their Fantasmic show. They've got it down. At Disneyland, you really are cramming all these people around the rivers of America. And it's, you've got to have a fast pass to see it now. If you're like visiting Disneyland and you're not going to go watch Fantasmic and you get this dumb idea that goes, I'm going to go ride Splash Mountain. Don't do it, people. Just stay away from New Orleans Square. It'll take you 2 dang hours just to get over there.
Stay on the east side because there's no way you can walk through the west side.
Nope.
Without walking through the Disneyland mosh pit.
Yep. And then after it's over, you're going to get stuck in the gridlock. So they've kind of got it better to where they, crowd control and use their little flashlights and tell you which way to go now. But I remember this was just maybe like 7 short years ago that they didn't care where you walked. And do you remember in front of, it's right when you pass the tiki room and the restrooms are on the right. And then you've got the trader, the store. I'm having a brain fart, but the store that's right there, right in front of where you board Jungle Cruise. Okay, you're in Adventureland. That place, because it bottlenecks so bad, literal gridlock. Like you are stuck. You literally cannot move. I remember standing there for over an hour because people are trying to come in and people are trying to go out, and nobody could move. They fixed that, but it's still crazy. Just stay away if you're not going to go watch Fantasmic.
And do you remember how uncomfortable it was being squeezed in like cattle in a pen?
Oh, yeah.
Like it starts to do something to your mind when you're stuck in that.
Yeah, it's pretty claustrophobic. It really is. And you don't really experience that at Walt Disney World just because they have the space and the way the seating is for their Fantasmic show. They've definitely got it down. I mean, Disneyland doesn't have the space to build it, and I get that. But their show, and now that they've updated it, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good, you guys.
And especially with the dragon. I mean, again, with Walt Disney World having that much room, create a creative dragon where the dragon's head comes up over the mountain and have the claws like kind of gripped around it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they've got the room and the money and the tech. They could make a dragon twice as big as Murphy to do what you said and come up over and take over the audience from behind the mountain.
Yeah, they can build a Murphy 2.0 for sure. I just think it's money. They don't want to do it, and people still show up to see it, and they're going to milk the cow for as long as they can and not do an update to a show because in their eyes, why, if it's not broken, don't fix it. But it's so outdated. It's so outdated at Walt Disney World. It's really
nothing
sad.
Against the Frozen sisters, but I don't even want it updated now because it's going to be the story of Anna and Elsa in Frozen 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know, that's probably going to be added to World of Color.
I'm fine with that. Frozen is a great movie. I mean, it gets dumped on a lot because it was too much at one time, but Frozen is great.
Yes.
So you'd prefer it more for World of Color than Fantasmic?
I would prefer for World of Color. You could do more.
And bring back the stinking pirate ship with Peter Pan and Captain Hook. I think it's really weird.
Yes.
And I don't want to, well, I guess I am. Spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear it, turn it off now, guys. So at Disneyland, they turned the ship into a Pirates of the Caribbean. You're watching the Disney movies all along, and it's all Disney, and you're crying, and you're getting the Disney feels, and, you know, you're loving it. And then all of a sudden, it turns to a movie. And you're like, what the heck just happened?
It's kind of like the second Johnny Depp animatronic. You're like, oh, this is one too many.
Yeah. Like, what happened? Yep. So bring it back. Get rid of the Pirates of the Caribbean segment, and it would be perfect.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. With the Peter Pan section was the segment part of the show was.
Maybe now that Johnny Depp's been fired, we'll start seeing less Jack Sparrow in the parks.
Maybe they'll get rid of it.
I wouldn't mind one Jack Sparrow, but 3 is too many.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say as passengers is each has their own love, and I'm glad that I get to go to Walt Disney World and experience it because it's not Disneyland. It's really not, and it has its own love for me. I really, truly love Walt Disney World. Don't think I'm knocking it, guys. I love it. I enjoy it, and I appreciate it. It's a totally different experience. And now that Star Wars Land is coming to Disneyland, I'm kind of moving towards Walt Disney World. So there you have it.
And that was the beauty about this whole adventure was to, you know, just get the pros and cons of both resorts. And, you know, they're like apples and oranges. You know, they have different tastes, but they're equally delicious. And, you know, you can take a little bit out of both sides.
Can I say one thing real quick about the apples and oranges thing? I was thinking about that earlier. And it's not even that. It's Disneyland is in a city, whereas Walt Disney World is a city. So if you say you're going to Disneyland, people know you're going to Southern California. True. If you say you're going to Walt Disney World, you say that the way they're going to Chicago or Manhattan.
Yeah.
It's so different, it's hard to compare.
Because you can see Disneyland, literally everything in 4 days. Everything. Like every show. You could do it.
3 days.
I've done it.
And that's including all the resorts.
Yeah, but I mean the shows too. You'd really have to have that fourth day to like see everything and ride every attraction. But at Walt Disney World, if you go for 4 days, you have scratched the surface. Like you can't even begin to like. I remember thinking, "Oh, we can get it all done. We're going to be there for 10 days." Not even close. And that's where it gets you hook, line, and sinker. You are pulled into the Disney World trap because you're like, I have to come back and see everything I didn't get to this time. So every time we go to Walt Disney World, we make it a goal that every day we do one thing that we've never done before. And it's always a new adventure. Always. In Disneyland, it's just the same mundane thing. And we go as a trip. But Walt Disney World is a vacation.
I kind of feel like I've graduated to Disney World from Disneyland.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That you guys are coming on my side, my turf. But
Disneyland will always be home. It's where the heart is.
Yes, exactly. And here's something to think about, passengers, is that, Disneyland was Walt's original park. But you also have to think, what was the whole purpose of why he even wanted to make Walt Disney World?
Epcot?
He wanted, well, yes.
I had to say it because there's like 100 listeners right now going, Epcot.
Yes, definitely.
The crazy Epcot.
It was the overall that he didn't want to have any of that outside world affecting his world. He wanted it, when you enter in through those gates, it was... you were cut off from reality. You were cut off from the normal world. And you still get that at Disneyland. But as far as escaping everything literally around you, and even in death, he succeeded with that with Walt Disney World.
Oh, I love it.
And on that note, passengers, we're coming around to the station. And I did the final tally. And as of right now, of the questions and the topics we talked about, it goes to Walt's original park, the OG Disneyland.
OG. I think it's a 50-50 split.
Yes.
So.
And it was pretty much, and again, passengers, we're not saying do one over the other.
Do both.
Do both.
Do it all, As how we are with being diehard Disney fans, anytime we can get to a Disney park, we'll take that opportunity. So I just have to thank both of you for joining me and doing this little experiment of Disneyland versus Walt Disney World. And I know I kind of drove you two crazy with the questions.
Dude, you bought drinks at the Hollywood Tower Hotel bar.
Yeah.
I'm getting texts. You've been in that hotel 5 hours. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I think we're about to leave the tower now. So I want to thank you both for joining me. And remember, passengers, it's never a good day unless it's a Disney day. Ken, take us home.
As we near our 1-year anniversary, we have decided to have another amazing giveaway. This time we're giving away a Kevin John Jungle Cruise print generously donated by Kevin John Studios. This print will be hand-signed by the Disney Master Artist himself and include a hand-drawn drawing on the mat. To enter, simply visit our Grand Circle Tour Facebook page and like and share this adventure. You can receive another entry by tweeting out that you're listening. Be sure to use the hashtag GCTPodcast.
Yay, that was so good.
That was a fun one.
That was.
Okay, you can talk smack now. We're done.